Most gardeners are told that composting is non-negotiable. Build a pile, turn it, wait months, deal with smells, space issues, and unfinished material. But what if you don't have room for a compost pile or simply don't want one? The truth is, for most of history, gardeners didn't rely on compost piles the way we do now. They turned garden waste directly into soil fertility using faster, simpler methods that worked right where plants were growing. You can do the same, and in many cases the results are even better. Compost piles became popular because they centralize waste and produce a uniform product. That's convenient, but it's not the only way organic matter becomes soil. In nature, leaves don't pile up neatly and get turned every week. They break down where they fall. Microbes, fungi, worms, insects, moisture, and time do the work in place. When gardeners mimic this process instead of forcing everything into a pile, soil life stays more balanced and nutrients cycle right where roots can access them. A compost pile is, a processing factory. In-ground and in-bed breakdown, on the other hand, is a living system. The difference really matters. One of the simplest ways to turn garden waste into fertile soil is, chop and drop. When plants finish producing, they're cut at the base and laid directly on the soil surface. Leaves, stems, and soft material become mulch, while roots are left in place to rot underground. Those roots create channels for water, air, and microbes, which improves soil structure long after the plant is gone. Chopping material into smaller pieces speeds breakdown dramatically. The more surface area microbes can reach, the faster nutrients are released. Within weeks, worms begin pulling fragments underground, mixing organic matter directly into the root zone, where future plants will need it most. If surface mulch feels messy or slow, trench feeding offers a clean alternative. Garden waste is buried in shallow trenches between rows or beneath future planting areas. Soil microbes break the material down underground, protected from sun and drying winds. This method locks nutrients in place and prevents losses from runoff or evaporation. Trench feeding works especially well for heavier materials like stems, stalks, and kitchen scraps that would take longer to decompose on the surface. Over time, these buried zones become rich, dark bands of humus that feed crops from below. Leaves are one of the most overlooked soil builders available. Instead of composting them, leaves can be piled, shredded, or spread directly onto beds and paths. Over time, fungi colonize the leaf material, turning it into leaf mold, which is, a soft, dark substance rich in stable organic matter. Leaf mold doesn't heat up like compost, and honestly, that's a good thing. It feeds fungal networks that help plants access water and nutrients more efficiently. For gardeners growing perennials, shrubs, and trees, leaf-based fertility is often more valuable than traditional compost. Another powerful method is fermentation. Garden waste can be soaked in water and allowed to ferment for a short period, creating a nutrient-rich liquid that feeds soil microbes immediately. This process partially breaks down plant material before it ever touches the soil, allowing nutrients to cycle faster. The remaining solids don't need composting either. They can be buried, mulched, or spread thinly on beds where decomposition finishes quickly. So, fermentation, you see, shifts the work from months to just days and, importantly, keeps nutrients active instead of being locked away in a pile. Stems, prunings, and woody waste don't actually need compost piles either. When they're chopped up small and used as surface mulch or buried beneath beds, they slowly feed fungi and act as a long-term carbon storage. This material improves soil structure and water retention while balancing nitrogen released from greener waste. The key is placement. Woody material belongs deeper in the soil or on the surface, not mixed directly into planting holes. Used correctly, it becomes part of the soil's long-term backbone. Worms are honestly nature's composting system. When organic matter is placed where worms live, they process it continuously, turning waste into stable castings rich in plant-available nutrients. By feeding soil directly instead of a pile, worms stay where plants need them most. This is why, many gardeners notice better results when organic matter is applied directly to beds rather than composted elsewhere first. The soil food web stays intact instead of being disrupted and relocated. Compost piles, they really do concentrate heat, but they also tend to lose nutrients to the air and water. With direct soil methods, though, nutrients keep cycling locally, right where you want them. Carbon, nitrogen, minerals, microbes, and moisture all stay in balance. Instead of making compost and then moving it around, you just build the soil in place, layer by layer. It's a much more straightforward approach, honestly. Over time, this method creates darker, richer soil that holds water better, resists compaction, and, it feeds your plants steadily instead of in bursts. It's a real game changer for the garden, I must say. If you garden in small spaces, containers, raised beds, or rental properties, ditching the compost pile is often liberating. No bins, no turning, no waiting. Garden waste becomes soil improvement immediately, right where it's needed. The goal isn't to avoid compost forever. Instead, it's to recognize that compost is just one tool among many. For most gardeners, especially those focused on soil health, in-place decomposition is, honestly, simpler, cleaner, and more effective. Black gold isn't made in piles, it's made where life is active. When you stop separating garden waste from the soil and start feeding the soil directly, fertility becomes, self-renewing. Beds improve every season, plants grow stronger, and the garden begins to manage itself. If this approach changes how you see garden waste, do consider subscribing and share it with someone who's, tired of managing compost piles. The soil already knows what to do. All we have to do is let it work.